recording. That's all right.
Yeah,
It's
I
fine.
pressed record on my one. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley. Today, I'm joined by Tracey Currell, who is the founder of Introbiz, also known as the Connections Queen. How you doing, Tracy?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? All right? Thanks for
I'm
having me
great.
on. Appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you coming on.
No.
I'll just dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the beginning and what sparked your journey and what made you launch Intro Biz back in 2008.
Wow, yes. Well, it was quite a long time ago now. So I'm gonna let you into all a little secret. I was actually rubbish at networking because I used to work for a business magazine. And at the time, my boss, back in 2007, said to me, I want you to go out networking for business to sell advertising in the magazine. And I said, oh, what's this networking lark? And he said, well, you go to these events, you swap your business cards, and you do business. Now, before that, I was working from home, working for a business magazine, but and business directories, but it was over the phone. I was just doing telesales because I had, my children, while the children were growing up and I wanted to work from home, that's what I was doing. So he said to me, oh, and that's why I didn't really do any networking at the time because it wasn't a thing then before I obviously got pregnant and had my children. So he said, well, you go to these events and obviously you swap your business cards. So I said, fine. So off I went to my first event and I would go up to people and I'd say, hi, I'm Tracy from Enterprise Magazine. I sell advertising space. Do you think you'd be interested? Right. And obviously, surprise, surprise, nobody did any business with me. And it is no surprise because obviously networking is about building relationships, people, getting to know people, getting them to like you, know you, trust you, and then eventually the business will potentially follow. So the first 3 months I got zero business. But I think it's so important, whatever you're doing, if something's not working, you ask yourself, well, what have I got to do to make it work? So I asked for honest feedback, and I always call it constructive criticism. So I said to a few people who I'd actually got on quite well with, there was Julie and Bernie and a few others. I said, listen, girls, I'm not getting any business from this networking, or am I doing something wrong? And they said, yes, you are. I said, go on, give it to me then. I said, because, I feel like giving up. And they said, and obviously they explained to me that networking was about building relationships, getting them to know you, like you, trust you first. It's not a sales pitch. It's obviously just building relationships so that you can then potentially go on to potentially get business. So I was like, oh my God. And it was so cringy to think that I was trying to give it the hard sell. But I always believe this is through every adversity, through everything that doesn't work, you've got to reflect and look at it and take on the constructive criticism and then change. So I decided to change my tactic and I was like, oh, well, I said, obviously at the end of the day, I've got to make this work for me. So anyway, so I just started to get to know people, got them to like me, know me, trust me. And then eventually people did start to buy the advertising space that I was selling, which was great. And I think then what happens is when you start to build relationships with people, they then refer you on to other people and recommend you, because how many times do we see on Facebook, oh, can anybody recommend a plumber or a decorator or a carpenter? And
Yeah.
if somebody's done a good service for someone, they're gonna recommend them. So when I started at networking, from getting no business for 4 months to then getting business, I went on to sell £95,000 worth of business when I
Wow.
learned how to do it the right way. And I could see how powerful it was, so much so that I thought, and I fell in love with it in the end. I was like, because I actually grew up in the pub trade. My father was a publican, and my dad used to own the Inn on the River in Grangetown in Cardiff, which was just down the road from the Millennium Stadium, on the Taff Embankment. And he used to have live bands every single night. So I grew up having live bands in my father's pub every day, which was great. And obviously being surrounded by lots of people. I didn't really want to take on the pub, but my mum and dad wanted me to, and I said no way. So the next best thing was run an events company, which is what I did.
Wow.
So I set up Introbiz,
Mhm.
and and I actually set it up with a gentleman. I took the idea to a gentleman who was a client of mine, and I said, "Listen, John, I've got this idea, but I'm not completely business savvy. I don't know a lot about business, but I told him my idea and he said, I'll help you set it up. So he helped me set it up, but then after 4 or 5 months, I had problems with my esophagus and I couldn't swallow food properly and I was forever being sick. I couldn't keep the food down because my peristalsis muscle in my neck wouldn't push the food into my stomach. So I was constantly going to the toilet to be sick.
Oh,
And it
wow.
wasn't good. And I lost so much weight.
Mm.
And in the end, my business partner, John, decided that he didn't want to do it anymore. So I actually took it on myself. And I'm still doing it obviously here today in 2025. And the year that we launched was 2009.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was 2000.
That's okay. Well, I
Yeah.
started working on it 2007, 2008.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so it took a while, but yeah,
Oh,
it was
wow.
great.
Wow, wow. So you've been successful for a long time. Like that
But
shows.
I will say, business is a journey. It's very up and
Yeah.
down. And I nearly lost the whole business in COVID. But,
Yeah.
for me, I felt that it was my duty to keep everybody connected, and keep all the community together. So I obviously pivoted and took everything online. I'm not really technical. I'm not tech savvy at all, to be fair. So I had to learn how to do things that, as we all do when you're
Mhm.
put into a situation. But I actually do more online events than in person. I still do my in-person events and
Mm.
I do prefer that, but obviously it's quite labor intensive.
Yeah.
Whereas online you can save money, you can save time, and you have more of a global reach. And I've just recently taken on clients from New York, because I've been on a business trip to New York
Wow.
recently. So
It just shows though, like through adversity, it forged a much stronger sort of business because your reach now is even more, it's even could go even further.
yeah, yeah, for sure. 100%.
Wow. Yeah. Really good, amazing.
Thank you.
You've branded yourself as the connections queen. What does that actually mean behind the scenes, and what's the real operational engine that makes those introductions?
Well, and funnily enough, I did a post on why I call myself the connections queen, and it wasn't for ego purposes. Yes, of course, all entrepreneurs have got an ego to a certain degree, and some have got bigger egos than others. And I haven't got a massive ego, but I have got a bit of an ego because, as I say, we all have, and I'd be lying if I didn't think so. But the reason I called myself the connections queen, not to think that I was better than anyone else or that I was above everybody else. I really did it because I love connections so much and I really love to serve my clients and connect them. The Queen serves her country, right?
Mm.
So for me, I serve my community. Like I said, when I did during COVID, it was my duty to keep everybody connected. So I'm not saying it from the purpose of thinking I'm better than anyone else or
Yeah.
that I'm above. And I need to, I'm so glad you asked me that question because some people might think, oh my God, she's got a massive ego. She thinks she's the queen. But it's coming from a place of serving,
Yeah.
and because I feel so passionate about connection and I want to learn so much more about connection that I just want to be the best at what I do, and obviously serve as many people as I can and really build that connection for other people. So that's why I call myself that. But behind the scenes, I'm very good at connecting the dots because I'm not good at a lot of things. But one thing I'm good at is when I'm talking to people and they're saying what it is that they're looking for, my head inside is going, I've got all these little things in my head. Like you see a spider's web, and I'm like, oh, I can introduce her to this person, or I can introduce him to that person. And I've got this person, I literally, I'm just very good at connecting the dots. It's probably, it's just one of my superpowers, I think. As I say, I'm probably only good at five things, and you need a lot more good things to do to run a successful business. But I then sub the work out then to other people. The things that I'm not so good at, I get other people to do. But the things that I am good at, I do try and focus on that. And connection and connecting the dots is one of them.
And and after looking at your profile before, you can see that connections is the top of your list of everything, and you
Oh,
can see that
human connection is
if
everything. It's
oh,
everything.
that leads me on to that's funny you should say that because that leads me on to human connection is the currency of legacy. That is a powerful ethos that you have, and I imagine to really live that out, your week has to be structured around connection, not just content. So I'm curious, what does a typical week look like for you now?
Well, I mean, I do a mixture of things because obviously I host all the events, so I'm forever speaking to people on LinkedIn, having discovery calls. I've automated quite a lot of my processes in my business at the moment, which saves me time. I haven't automated everything, not all my processes, but by automating some of the processes, it does save me a lot of time. So the business is more efficient now. So I have more time to spend with people on discovery calls, speaking to people on LinkedIn, hosting events. I mean, the other thing as well is I do like going to other networking events. So I go up to London once every couple of weeks, and I've been networking, funnily enough, not as much in Cardiff because obviously I'm based in Cardiff, but I'm in between Saundersfoot and Cardiff because I'm staying at my apartments in Saundersfoot. But obviously now the summer's here, I've got a few more bookings than I well, I do want them obviously because it's my investment, but at the same time, I do love it here. I'm actually here in Saundersfoot at the minute, but so yeah, but I've been networking a lot quite in America. I've been to America on 3 business trips. Since March, I went to San Diego. In May, I went to LA. And I dropped down into San Diego for a little bit as well for 2 days because I'd met people in March. So I followed up with them. I
Yeah.
always say the fortune's in the follow-up. So watch this space. I'm obviously in talks with a few people at the minute.
Yeah.
And then I recently went to New York. I was speaking at a conference and hosting a human connection panel
Wow.
to an audience of about 150 people, which was awesome. And I've just signed up my new one of my new New York connections to the community, which is great. So yeah.
That's fantastic. How did you find networking in America as opposed to networking in the UK?
Well, in America, they're very, very open to networking. They
Mhm.
absolutely love it. Um, I wouldn't say that they're as good at the follow-up because I followed up with every single person and not everybody come back to me, or some people took like a week or 2 weeks to come back to me. And I always say this, when you meet someone, like, and this is how you build trust. If you say you're going to do something, you make sure you do it. Now, if I say to someone, I'm going to give you a connection, or I'm going to do this for you, or I'm going to show up for you for whatever, or I'm going to recommend you. If I didn't do it, people would say, oh, she's not very reliable. Why would I bother
Yeah.
doing business with her? So people want to do business with people who are organized, who show up for people, who've already built trust in the business community. So Americans are brilliant and they're really open to networking, but not all of them are the best at follow-up. And that's one thing that I have noticed. But they are quite committed to being open to networking. But I do feel that the UK is slightly better for that.
That's cool. I wasn't expecting you to say that. I really wasn't because
Mhm.
I always find like I was well, I've always sort of found that Americans are much more open to lots of different things, whereas the UK I always find is a little bit not just in networking. I'm talking like just in a broad scale of everything. But so it's interesting that you say that. It really is. But
Yeah, but
also
they,
it's
they are very business savvy, don't get me wrong.
yeah
But I did find maybe it was the time zones, I don't know, and their, other commitments, but that's what it seemed to be, that they didn't get back to me as quick as people in the UK.
yeah. It seems like you're already making your mark out there.
I'm trying.
Definitely. Yeah. No, fair play, fair play.
Yeah.
So Introbiz has grown internationally into multiple formats. What's been the hardest part of scaling the model without losing the personal touch?
Well, funnily enough, we had a conversation today and we were talking about, is there anything that you wouldn't outsource? And one of the things is, and I know people always say, oh, Richard Branson isn't on all his flights for like obviously, his Virgin flights, which is completely true, and
Mm,
you can't be at everything and you have to put systems and processes in place, like I said about automations.
mm,
But one of the things, that I find a bit difficult is I could potentially get other people to host some of my events, and and to work on the business so that I'd have more time to work on the business. I should do that,
yeah,
but I find it difficult because I love people so much. So I
yeah,
do find that quite hard to
yeah,
actually delegate other people to host an event. The only time I will do it is if somebody particularly wanted to see me, or I try and do it so that I don't get them to do it around my event, so I'm always there. But like when I was out in America the other week, out in New York, the time difference was 5 hours. So at 9 in the morning, sorry, on a Friday morning when we
Yeah,
host the events, it would have been 4 a.m. my time in New York. So
yeah,
I didn't want to get up at that time of the morning to host the event. So I did, I asked one of my members to host it, which was fine. But I do find that difficult to, to not do, to scale the business, if that makes sense.
yeah. And obviously, it's like it's your baby, isn't it? Do you know what I mean, you've watched it grow, you've watched it or made it grow with you. Do you know what I'm saying, over the years? So I can
Yeah,
completely
for
understand
sure.
the emotional tug on the heart.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
can imagine. Introbiz is all about connection, but I imagine getting members to actually follow up can be tricky. How do you support and systemize that part?
Yeah, so I've got a fortune in the follow-up booklet that I'm always promoting, and I do obviously I'm always talking about the follow-up at the end of each session. I get everybody, especially online, to I always say it, the fortune's in the follow-up. Introbiz will initially connect you, but it's what you do outside of the events that's when you start to make the magic happen for you. And that's when you can delve deeper into relationships, into new opportunities when you have a one-to-one with someone. So there's no point in coming online or coming to an in-person event if you're not going to follow up. It's just a complete waste of time. So
Yeah,
I do instill that into the members all the time. And they're always saying, actually, when we're talking about the follow-up online, they go, oh, Tracy always says that, the fortune's in the follow-up, and it is. So it's ingrained in people's, it's in my DNA, and I try and make that part of the DNA of telling everybody online all the time about the fortune is in the follow-up.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I've heard that before, not in them words, but I've heard the money's in the follow up, the money's in the follow up. So
Yes.
you're on steady ground there, 100%.
Yeah.
Tell me about your done for you affinity introductions. Who's the perfect client for that offer, and how do you qualify who gets matched with who?
Okay, so yeah, so the affinity, that's if a lot of people will just want to come and do the basic, which is £1,000 a year or £97 a month. We offer a subscription model now. And we're more proactive with the subscription model because we appreciate there's a lot of companies out there, or a lot of people, especially startups, where they haven't got the money to pay all the membership up front. So I would rather have something than nothing, and it's good to obviously offer subscription for that reason, to make it more affordable and accessible to everyone. But with the affinity, that's where they get a quicker done for you service. So I always have a meeting with every single member, whether they're on £97 a month or the 197 a month with the affinity, or they can pay 2,000 up front. So they get 20% off if they pay it all up front. But what I do is then I have a fact-finding meeting with them to find out who their target audience is, understand their business, know what their products and services are. And again, because I'm good at matching the dots, I will then say, well, I know there's people that I can introduce you to. So I'll do some introductions straight away, but I don't like to do all of them because they get 12 personal introductions. Where we're really strong is finding good referral partners for the affinity members. So we're good at finding affinity clients for them, because having referral partners, imagine if I gave you 10 or 12 potential clients
Yeah,
and say you only converted two of them, okay, that's not as good. Whereas if I give you 12 potential referral partners, and
mm,
out of the referral partners, they all give you five, that's 60 leads you're going to get, compared to, and say you convert 20%, that's 12 people you'll convert rather than two.
yeah,
So referral partnerships are really good, and you'd be surprised how many people don't have referral partnerships. You
yeah,
know, and a lot of people say, oh, like a lot of companies will say, oh, who's a good referral partner? And I always say to them is, you can either have it where they're what we call the power tables, where, like when I do an in-person event, I try and link people with the right people. So for instance, to give you an example, like a wedding planner with a wedding venue and a wedding photographer, or a property investor with an architect and an estate agent and a mortgage broker. So
mm,
it's finding the right power groups that they can refer business to each other. They've got the same target audience, but they're not offering the same thing. Although I always never worry about competition because I actually, I talk about collaboration all the time.
Yeah,
It's good to collaborate with companies because, a lot of people get scared of collaboration. Like I collaborate with a couple of other networks.
yeah,
Now, if some of my clients want to go and join their networks, that's okay with me because they're extending their reach.
yeah,
Because I can't give them every single person and I can't give them every single opportunity in their business. There's other networks. So I do like to encourage people to join more than just mine. I never like to keep it insular that it's all in my network or just pay for my membership or give me your money and nobody else.
yeah,
I'm always a believer of spread the love, collaborate, work together, um, collaboration over competition any day because I've probably got clients that may be looking like an affinity member that might want a collaboration with a certain company, and I might not have them, and I'll go, well, let me speak to Startup to Stand Up in London. Let me
yeah,
speak to SBC Connect in Dubai, you know. So I've got a couple of collaborations. I've got an online collaboration once a month with the Dubai network, SBC in Dubai, and they're a great network. And I've got Startup to Stand Up. They've got a lot of founders in London and we
yeah,
collaborate and we come together in person. We don't do online together, we do in person, but then my Dubai one is once a month online. So it's great, because you've got to like my strapline in Introbiz is creating and connecting communities for global opportunities. So why wouldn't I collaborate with other networks? Because
yeah,
grow together, invite other people in, and it's just so much better, it's good to collaborate with other networks because
definitely.
it's good for my members. I'm always trying to find ways to add value to my membership, to give my clients more opportunities. Well, how can I do that? By collaborating with other good networks that have got the same ethos as me. Because I wouldn't, there are other networks that I wouldn't collaborate with because they don't have the same values or the same ethos as me, and perhaps they're all about just taking and it's all about the money.
Yeah.
I don't work like that.
And do
I'm
you know,
always trying to find ways to add value to my community.
and I think having that at the forefront of your offer and at your brain is obviously made it exponential, like how you've been able to grow and make and
And
be so
yeah,
successful.
yeah. And not only that, if I collaborate with other networks, I'm confident about my services. I'm confident that I can deliver a good service for my clients. So why would I worry if I'm not if I wasn't
Yeah,
confident, then I would worry. But
yeah.
I'm confident about what I can offer.
And also that you give when you're offering, telling them to go to and collaborating with other agencies, you're giving them your stamp of approval as well. And
Yes.
obviously your clients value that. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
100%.
Yeah, brilliant. So what part of the business still relies on you the most except for hosting?
Well, obviously the one-to-ones, having my one-to-ones, that does, and obviously there's a lot of AI things out now, which is great. But it's also, it can be a bit scary because obviously I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the AI could take over.
Yeah,
And that's another conversation. But at the same time, it does save a lot of time. We're having an AI agent built at the moment with AZ, a company in London who are one of my clients,
yeah,
AIZEE. Great company, and they've got a really good AI agent that's going to help. Not, and it's really just so that we can grow the community quicker and more efficiently. But the AI agent is so good that it's not going to be to sell to people.
mhm,
It's going to be offering them to come to an event and get them to send the link so that because obviously if I can have an AI agent that will do those calls and bring more people to the events, that's going to save a lot of time, but also that's going to add value to my community so that they can connect to more people.
yeah. And again, like just what you said then, it's not to sell, it's to bring people to the community, which is bang on because yeah, but we say we don't know about never because AI is growing crazy. But I don't think not anytime soon anyway, you're going to be able to mimic the human connection, the sales face to face, where you can dig in, ask about them and get to know them and then get to
Yeah.
know your personality. But everything around that can be systemized, automized to an extent, I feel like. So yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
brilliant. Tracy, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about the business that's slowing you down or holding you back in any type of way, what would it be and why?
Oh, now, I think there's one thing that can help because, especially at the moment in business, in a lot of people's business, is helping people with their cash flow. Because if there could be, and I've said this so many times, if there was something, and I know there's lots of things like invoice factoring, and you can go and companies will charge, they'll give you the money up front, and there's Klarna. But if cash flow is a very, very big issue for a lot of companies, and that's why we've done subscription model.
Yeah,
So I think for me, it would be something that can help with cash flow for companies to make it more affordable for them. That would, if something that could really, really change the game.
yeah, wow. So it's interesting that you mentioned that about you still always putting other people first by the sounds of it. It's obviously how you've grown so big and grown for so long as well, and it's a testament to it, it really is.
Yeah, thank you.
How do you currently qualify and prioritize leads?
Well, I do a lot on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a really good platform because it's obviously a professional platform. I get referrals, so people recommend to come along to Introbiz. And then when I go network in other networks or I speak at an event, that's when I get more leads. So it's really referrals, LinkedIn. Obviously, it does link to Facebook and Instagram, but it's more LinkedIn that I work on quite heavily. And obviously when I speak or go to other networking events myself, there's all the in-person stuff. But then because I'm having that human connection with people, they then refer me on
Yeah.
to other people. One of the biggest things that a lot of people say to me is, "Oh my God, you've got amazing energy." And I don't say that because of my ego. I'm saying it because, oh my God, imagine if I could bottle my ego. Not my ego, sorry. Imagine if I could bottle my energy,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
sell it.
Yeah,
Tell me that over and over and again. Oh my God, I love your energy. Because they
yeah.
know I am a people lover. I'm pretty genuine. I'm very transparent and authentic. There's a lot of people would come on and wouldn't say that they nearly lost their whole business.
No,
I'm very open about that.
yeah,
It's been tough for a lot of people, and including myself, but keeping everybody connected, having that human connections, it's got everybody through, so yeah, that would be my take on it.
So, do you know, say you get 5 leads through from LinkedIn, is it you that's manually following up with them and trying to qualify them into if they're, high value leads, low value leads, or do you just treat them all as one?
Yeah, no, I do that myself. However, I know there are tools out there, which I know I'm going to be automating that soon. But I've got to do one step at a time because obviously,
Yeah,
because I'm not tech savvy, I'm more of the in-person verbal, person. I would get, and I'm ADHD as well, by the way. I would get completely overwhelmed if I had a load of technology to do. If someone said, "Oh, you've got to," so I do things, I learn things and I'll master that and then I'll go on to something else. And I'm just about to come to the stage where I'm about to do some automation for that as well. But at the minute I've been doing it manually.
yeah. I think going forward, that would definitely bring a lot of value and free up more time for yourself as well. So
Yeah.
I think you're definitely moving in the right direction, Tracy.
Yeah, but again, it would be very overwhelming if I did everything because I'm
Yeah,
learning a lot of things. I'm in a mastermind at the moment, so I don't want to
yeah,
do too much,
yeah. Sure, sure.
overcommit myself.
Yeah, that's it. Looking ahead 6 to 12 months, what are the big goals that you're most excited to hit, and what needs to shift operationally to make that happen?
Well, obviously, is the automation.
Yeah,
Automating a little bit more, learning a little bit more.
yeah,
I'm now going to be doing 3 online events a week rather than 2. So I've obviously doing that. I've got a few more collaborations that I'm in talks with people at the moment, so that's gonna really help.
yeah,
And yeah, just growing the community really. But it's all about automating and getting AI to help with that.
yeah.
But yeah, really excited for the future to see what comes.
Brilliant, brilliant.
And at the end of the day, my main aim is to create and connect communities for global opportunities for my clients.
Yeah, no, definitely. So before we wrap up, Tracy, where can our viewers and listeners find you to connect with you online?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as Tracey Currell, but I'm also on there as Introbiz as well. So you can reach out to me. I'm on info@introbiz.co.uk if anybody would like to email me. I'm not going to give you my telephone number because that would be a bit.
Yeah.
People will see everything. You can actually get my telephone number from the website,
Yeah,
but yeah, for sure.
brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your insights and your value today.
No
So
problem.
thank you for that.
Thanks for having me on.
No
Cheers.
problem. Thank
Take
you.
care.
And
Bye for
you.
now.
Bye. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.